Now, look, it's sometimes hard at budget time for people to digest the simple truth that there are many policy issues completely lost in the miasma of budget talk. The Federal Education Minister, Alan Tudge, is a decent and committed man, but one wonders how much of what he is saying about education is driven by bureaucratic advice. And we know on many fronts such bureaucratic advice is flawed. When were Treasury estimates ever correct? What about the health advice on likely deaths from coronavirus and the health advice on ivermectin? Well, into the midst of this education crisis arrives Queensland teachers being encouraged to withdraw their children from sitting the NAplan test. More than 1 million students across the nation are now participating in these tests. 70% will sit online. The National Assessment Program for Literacy and Numeracy, NAplan. The argument that the anti-NAplan sentiments have been driven by teachers' unions is convenient but flawed. The Queensland Teachers' Union sent a letter to its 47,000 members last Friday urging the teachers to withdraw their children from the test. The Federal Minister, Alan Tudge, said the tests are a normal part of the school year and not a cause for anxiety, and that the unions are trying to scare kids and parents, and that NAplan, quote, is absolutely critical to tracking and improving student outcomes, unquote. May I suggest the argument that NAplan is an important guide that highlights where students and teachers need to improve is no more than educational dross. Let's face it, this has been going on since 2008. Have our literacy and numeracy results improved by international standards? We are 1.5 years behind Singaporean students when it comes to reading and science, 3 years behind them in maths. We used to be 4th in the world for reading, we're now 16th. We used to be 8th in science, we're now 17th. We used to be 11th in maths, we're now 29th. And remember last night the Treasurer boasted that the government had doubled school funding since it came to office. What have we got to show for it? If NAplan is a diagnostic test, it seems the diagnosis is hopelessly wrong. Is anyone seriously suggesting that parents gain a greater insight into a school's performance from NAplan? Does NAplan increase a student's interest in learning? If it's a diagnostic test, do we get better resources? And what is the point of any test when the school and the student get a report 5 months after the test is set? There's any amount of evidence of cheating and other breaches of the testing protocol. Schools ask students to stay at home so as not to lower the school's score on the My Schools website. If results are delivered 5 months after the test is administered, it's surely impossible to consider meaningful change to assist students until the next year. Indeed, it could be argued that NAplan is disadvantageous because students miss out on other educational opportunities, be it art, sport, drama, music, sometimes even in the lunch hour, because extra classroom time is dedicated to NAplan practice. You could further argue that NAplan rewards poorer quality teaching because teachers focus on the test, and that masks what might be teaching weaknesses in the more important areas of overall learning and the love of learning. There's further evidence that NAplan delivers heightened levels of unnecessary stress and anxiety for children, and that stress is related to both parent and teacher expectations. Children are even told ridiculous stories about how their performance will affect their ability to succeed in school and in life. Now, NAplan has an ability to put a label on kids in schools, not just for a year, but for a long time. And a struggling student gets a report 5 months after the test telling the student and the parents that they're academically incompetent in comparison with the rest of the country. Make no mistake about it. There's any amount of research to tell you that once a student believes he or she is quote-unquote dumb, they become less motivated. They're less likely to try and their performance gets worse. I'm afraid to me, NAplan's like homework. It's not clear what either achieves in terms of securing a better educational outcome for our children. So forget this robotic testing and the pretense that NAplan achieves anything. Put properly trained teachers back in charge in front of the classroom. A bit of chalk and talk, rote learning of spelling and tables, teach grammar, good literature, our geography and history, and then set a real diagnostic test. It's called a proper exam, where children are confident of success because they know their knowledge bank is receiving deposits every day. The rest, as I've said, is educational dross. What do you think? Email me, alan@skynews.com.au, or the text line 0414 000 848.